Shirt show. All right, let's go. Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right, episode 9 of Shirt Show. We're talking with JP from InkSoft in Arizona. Let's go!
What's going down?
Hey, what's up?
What's going on?
How are you?
Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, you're
Yeah, you
good.
sound
Mic,
great.
mic check.
Yeah, we just did the same thing.
Good
Nice.
sound, good lighting. It's
All
rare.
right. Natural lighting. Makeup.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Well, how are you?
Good. How are you? It's Sunday.
Good. It's Sunday. Do you guys normally record on weekends? Is that the
Usually on
Typical.
Sunday.
nice?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Dylan's. That's because it's his fault, really.
No,
Nice.
it's not.
I
It's
wanna
your
do
fault
it.
we do it on Sundays. I always want to do everything late at night, and you're like, no, I need to do it in the middle of the day. And
On
this is
Monday.
Because
why
I go to
on
bed.
Monday.
I go to bed.
I don't.
I
I
gotta
don't go to
sleep.
bed. Yeah.
It's important. I listen to Joe Rogan. He says you got to get 8 hours.
It's true.
Yeah.
Simple life hacks.
So what's going
All
on?
right, guys.
What's new?
Oh, man. What's not new? I think the topic of the moment is COVID and how
Yeah.
businesses are contending with COVID. So certainly, I hate to say it, but unprecedented times. But it's actually encouraging to see how entrepreneurs are reacting and seeing all the new opportunity sort of born out of what ordinarily would be crisis.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been interesting times. That seems to be the consensus, everybody I talk to.
Yeah. Now with COVID stuff, were you guys all like, I know nobody was ready for it, but I feel like you guys got an opportunity out of it just because of the online stores tool, because that for everybody blew up to be able to use that or have that. Was that something you guys were ready for?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been using the term luck a lot, and one of my colleagues corrected me, and he sent me it was a quote from Seneca, a Roman philosopher. And I think the quote was something to the effect of, luck is like the confluence of preparation and opportunity. So to that point, I think we were fortuitous. I'll stop using luck because it sounds like we didn't work hard or weren't strategically in position to. You look at what's happened with e-commerce as a category at large. I mean, every analyst is saying that, hey, technology was just sped up, and acceleration of technology was just sped up 2 to 3 years. So from that basis, you're right. I mean, look at you guys as print shop operators, right? States mandate you shut down. How do you still service customers and react? So, from our vantage, thank God for e-commerce because, so many folks were able to still generate much needed revenue in a pretty challenging time. And I think, Dylan, you're pointing to the opportunity that, a lot of decorators had, which was, the fundraising opportunity in their local communities. So I think that was not only a godsend for print shops, but also for these local small businesses that were able to generate some revenue in a pretty stressful time. So I think we just look back and we're very fortunate to be in the e-commerce category. But it's also interesting to see how, given there's been this new demand and new acceleration, what's next, right? Yeah. So we've been planning 2 to 3 years, but now that that's been accelerated, so what does the next 2 to 3 years look like, right?
Right.
Interesting times all the way around.
How did that put a wrench in your business model of what your plans were? Because obviously no one saw this coming. Obviously you have to change things and all that stuff. You guys changed your focus at all on how to grow InkSoft or?
No, I don't think the focus has changed. Our focus has been, developing the industry's best e-commerce solution. That's what we've been focused on for 10 years. I think that we have there's a new excitement because again, there's this major demand.
Right.
And so with that said, our ambition is, maybe we're going to shift around the roadmap a little bit, but we're going to prioritize the things that decorators need now. And that's a way to interact with consumers, given everything's changed, right?
Yeah.
I was tracking an interesting conversation that was happening on the Screen Print Marketing Group. I don't know if what your impression of this is, but I'll put you guys on the spot.
Okay,
There's so many decorators talking about, hey, who else is excited about not operating their retail shop and having customers come in and interrupt? And I need a quote for 6 shirts for a memorial t-shirt, and the consensus was this has been a blessing in disguise. We're able to focus, we're reconfiguring our retail space. So with that said, I mean, I think, in the not so distant future, it's going to look a lot like more industrial space, less retail space, and it's going to be a virtual storefront, right? It's going to be interacting with consumers online. Seems to be the new preference of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you guys, I mean, react to that? Do you guys, I mean, I see ShirtCon all the time, Upstate Merch all the time. I see, your social videos. I mean, you guys have awesome spaces. You're interacting with customers. I mean, do you guys see that tilting and
I'll let Andy go first because I know what I'm going to say.
Nice.
Well, so we are heavy on retail. I mean, we have a showroom. We have we have exposure. We have a lot of traffic, or we did, pre-COVID, and so.
Sure.
But we also had InkSoft before COVID happened, which was great. It was luck, or no, maybe the other thing. but it was and so we already knew how to build a store and build a store quickly. And when it happened, we were looking for, like, what do we do? What's next? And so it not only helped us through connecting with the community and having this fundraiser, but it just helped the morale of everybody here. Like, it gave us something to do. There was like, hey, we can design this cool shirt and then put it up, and then watch the sales grow and help the community, everything. So it was just like, it was something for those, I don't know if it was maybe a month or so that, we had no idea what was about to happen or what was happening. So that was great. But we rely pretty heavily still on people coming in. And so where we're located in the suburb of St. Louis, we can be open and we are open. And so, when people come in and we have a dressing room, for example, and they try on different shirts, they don't know if they want a Gildan or if they want a Bella Canvas or whatever. And so we have people trying on shirts all the time. They pick out colors, actual swatches, which you can kind of get away with online. You can show sort of, you can get kind of accurate, but I mean, if it's a heather red, what does it really look like in that image that you're showing? Is your monitor turned up really bright or what? So it's tough. I think that I like the idea of expanding and growing our e-commerce and our stores. In fact, I have somebody coming back starting tomorrow, coming back from this COVID furlough thing, and she is going to be that's about half of what she's going to be doing is helping expand and find opportunities where we can build stores for people. But I sure hope that, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it. We're busy at the front again. Like, it's not like it was, but it's certainly back to a certain level anyway. And so I think maybe it's a mix for us. And so I think, maybe every shop's different because Dylan is in the mountains, or you're somewhere out there where e-commerce could play a larger role. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I hate walk-ins. I basically, when I got into this industry, I started a small company, sold it to a company in Georgia and near Atlanta, moved there, became like one of their main sales reps or whatever. And we were like right in town, like downtown basically. And then we had walk-ins all day long. Like, I would have plans of like, okay, I'm going to work with this customer today. I'm going to tackle this email, do this project. And then somebody walks in off the street and is like, I want to start a clothing line. And I'm just like, I want to blow my brains out. And then I deal with them for 2-3 hours. And then I'm like, all right, now my train of thought's gone. I'm not motivated to do this other project. I'm not motivated to do this. And then when I left that company and started Upstate, I was like, for the first 3 years we had this building, we didn't have a front door. Like, you could not get in here unless you worked here. Because I was like, I don't want to deal with people coming in off the street. I mean, yeah, it's a factor of like where we live now that we don't have a lot of walk-ins. We definitely have walk-ins. Like, we have a couple a day, but I mean, now to the point where like I have staff that handle it and I don't have to do it as much, but it's definitely not a focus for me. Like, our whole focus since the beginning has always been like sales online, like all over, national, international. Like, we ship to UK and Australia and stuff like that all the time. It's just, honestly, it's like whatever comes in, as long as they're willing to pay the shipping. And we get really good rates on shipping. So I mean, it helps us. And especially with like, we get people, you know, in California or whatever, like, well, I'd really like to use you, but I've got a guy a block down the street.
Right.
I'm like, well, I'll pay for the freight. So actually I'm closer because I can deliver it to your front door.
Nice.
So,
Strong
I mean,
positioning.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, you could walk down the block or you could just have it come to your door. And
exactly.
I wonder how, if I could find somebody on Craigslist, how much it would cost me to find somebody to go into your store, into your shop, like every day and start a t-shirt line, or say they are, sorry.
I think
could I get it done for like $25 maybe?
And give you equity in the line. You do all the print, you take all the risk, and we'll give you half the business.
I think if you wanted to start that war with me, Andy, it would go on for a really long time. I'm not going to back down on that.
One of the interesting, to kind of part of that dialogue and all the back and forth, somebody had made the observation that, hey, maybe we move to like an appointment only model. And I think you've seen a lot of businesses, as part of the, dealing with the pandemic and knowing that you can only facilitate, so much traffic. That way, you could arrange your day and have the appropriate staffing to deal with people that are serious, that are going to book time, and maybe you can kind of pre-qualify them before they walk into your space.
Yeah.
It's going to be, interesting. I have a good friend that's in the commercial real estate business, and in fact, I need to have him on a podcast and pick his brain, because they're, all the analysts are saying, all the major transformation that will happen in commercial. Think about having to retrofit your office. If there's going to be new health mandates, a lot of businesses have open floor plans and sort of, communal sort of workspaces. I mean, that's all going to have to be reconfigured. Nationwide, I think it's Nationwide insurance company, their CEO declared, they're closing all of their facilities, call centers, they're going completely virtual and work from home. So it's actually another interesting proposition. Can you be an online only business? And I think, Dylan, you'd probably take that position. That's sort of your model. But I think, there's going to gain increasingly a lot of attention towards moving sort of strictly online.
Yeah. And I feel like that's been strong for us though, too. Like, again, I don't want to say luck, but it's like we built up this reputation, all over the internet and stuff, is basically, and that kind of saved us with Corona stuff, because I feel like if we were just doing local, we would be dead in the water right now, because nobody local is doing anything.
Sure.
So for us to be able to do a customer that's not as affected over here, or a customer who, they only sell merch online, or they do this, it's like we still have tons of avenues of merch coming in. So I feel like that's been huge. And I feel like we're busier now than we would normally be anyway. I feel like we're swamped. Which is good. Like, we're going through it. Nothing's late. We're ahead on turnaround, but still, it's like we have a lot of work right now. Like, I'm trying to hire like 3 people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that model works.
And that's without, you didn't engage with face masks or any sort of PPE.
I haven't done any masks.
Yeah, that's wild.
No, we haven't done anything other than just t-shirts and stuff. And the whole mask thing was kind of weird. Made me feel dirty.
It was definitely a challenging thing to navigate through, to not look like an opportunist or.
Yeah, that was my big thing, is I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, you feel like you're going to die and you feel like you need this thing. Let me sell you some masks.
Yeah.
Like, I get that a lot of people are doing it, and there's a lot of other good ways for it. And there are a lot of people are doing good. And now I feel like it's more of a thing where you see it in like Target and stuff. Like, people are buying masks. Right. Like, I feel like it's fine. But in the beginning, it's just something about it to me. It was just like, I don't know if I want to get involved.
I interviewed a customer of ours, an InkSoft customer, and he had sort of just explained his journey with face masks and PPE, but it wasn't direct to consumers, more to service his business customers. They couldn't open up their casinos unless they were able to give out face masks and build that confidence. So he took it from that vantage of servicing businesses so they could re-engage, in commerce, right? So it was kind of an important, component to his local economy.
Right.
But it was interesting. His observation was just, once you gain a reputation as the guy that can produce branded face masks in volume, it just radically accelerates. And on the podcast, he called out specifically over 150 new accounts. And he said the back end up, but it wasn't a sort of a one-time transient sell. He picked up all of their promo business and their apparel business. So for him, he was in growth mode. It was a boom opportunity, but he leveraged it in the right way. I think it was kind of a real strategic play on face masks.
Yeah.
We don't sell.
It works for certain people. It's just
we don't sell direct like face. I get asked sometimes like, "Hey, do you have face masks?" The answer is no. We don't just print them and have them for sale here. But like you just said, we've been contacted by schools, by the St. Louis Public Library, by churches that if they're going to have church service, they have to have masks, and so they bought thousands, and so,
Right.
and that there's no like, you're not questioning your ethics or anything like that. If you're worried about that early on, I know it was weirder because we're like, wait a minute, we were a t-shirt printer and it was just weird to even think about masks, even wearing them, it was a crazy concept, but now it's reality. And so, I can see where it's not like we're moving into profit off of it. It's just that it's a need, it's
Sure.
And so,
so I guess let's take a step back a little bit. What did you do before InkSoft, and how did you get started with it?
Yeah, so we'll take it way back. So I studied advertising and marketing, and I graduated college. I traveled with a girlfriend through Europe and came back and didn't want to start working straight away. Kind of wanted to figure things out. So I moved up to Vail, Colorado, and lived with a buddy up in the mountains for a while, kind of being a bum. And on a weekend, we went to Las Vegas, and I ended up meeting my future wife in a line to get into a bar in Las Vegas. So remember that term luck I mentioned?
I gotta pause you for a second. Didn't you do the same thing, Andy? Didn't you move to Colorado?
I moved to Vail, actually. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So, I was in Beaver Creek specifically.
Oh, yeah. So, awesome. Which is just like 10 minutes, or maybe 15 down 70. Yep. But I lived in Vail, and I worked in Vail Village at a place called Cleaver's Deli. And so made a mean sandwich. We had gyros there too.
Nice. But, my good friend, he still lives there. He never left the mountains. So
I thought about thought about never leaving, but
yeah, it's definitely tempting. I met a lot of guys that were, 45-year-old, 50-year-old bellmen and ski lift operators. And I mean, it's definitely a lifestyle, but it's interesting. So anyway, I met my future wife in Vegas, and she was a student at Arizona State University, and I made the decision to relocate from Colorado to Arizona. And of course, we got married and had children. But my first job, transitioning, sort of from college into the real world, I'm going to keep saying luck. I guess I'm just a lucky guy, but I helped a friend open up a bar and restaurant, and I think it was a Memorial Day or a Labor Day. There's a patron, he gave me a credit card, and on the credit card, it said Digital Art Solutions. And so I was like, what do you guys do? And so I met my first boss just by being curious. So Craig Mertens, who owns Digital Art Solutions, he brought me in for an interview and hired me up. And so Digital Art Solutions basically invented stock graphics for the industry. And they've been around for 28 years.
You heard of them, Dylan?
Ironic.
Yeah, so they used to be, like, if you went to a trade show, they'd have a big booth and you would buy, they would have
like
a
the
pack.
books.
Yeah. And
I know what you're talking about, but I've never bought any of that. No.
Yeah, you guys do like custom stuff, but think about the print shop that's doing stuff for soccer club or church group, and they're not going to pay for custom.
Just like vector packs, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So really, that was my first foray into the industry, and it's ironic because so many people I meet, they were either in a fraternity, and that was their connection to start selling swag and getting into decorated apparel, or they were a coach or some other kind of connection, right? So I came outside of the industry. My first introduction was, from the art content perspective. So I learned, what it looks like to run an art department and be efficient with art content. So I worked for Craig and Digital Art Solutions for about 8 years. And in my sort of tenure with Digital Art Solutions, I kept hearing the same question: can we use your art content online? There's this new company called Custom Ink, and they're taking our customers, and we need a more efficient way to do artwork and let our clients be involved. So unfortunately, it took 8 years and 1,000 times of hearing this opportunity. But I happened to meet the right people who were starting a software company, InkSoft, and so things aligned. My industry experience with technical experience, business experience. So in 2009, we sort of launched InkSoft, and the ambition, as I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, was, decorators are going to get crushed by the likes of companies like Custom Ink. I mean, e-commerce is going to be a thing. And if you track, e-commerce growth has been year over year since its advent. So we knew e-commerce was going to be the future. We saw what Custom Ink was doing by letting end customers self-service. And so we wanted to be that software provider. It would give decorators, print shops, print entrepreneurs a way to compete online. And so we're still running point on the same mission here, over 10 years later. And it's been a fun journey.
It's awesome.
And ironically, I'll kind of conclude this story. I mentioned Digital Art Solutions. InkSoft acquired DAS June of last year. So it's pretty crazy to, Craig taught me everything I needed to know about the industry, was my mentor, a really good friend. He was a guest at my wedding. But now we're working together again. So super ironic to sort of acquire the first business you work for. So So some really exciting things. When you take two separate companies, you combine them. We're going to be releasing a new solution by year end that we're super fired up about. So
that's awesome.
That's the journey. That's the story.
Yeah. So the beginning was just kind of like making the online designer stuff.
Yeah. So sort of the early vision was, we saw what Custom Ink was doing, and we know that, all decorators, artwork is just a bottleneck, right? So how do you convert that into a non-bottleneck?
Right.
But really online stores was part of our DNA from the get-go. And the reality is we saw how, decorators were forced to, you look at a local geographic area, right? And this kind of ties back to our conversation about the retail walk-in business. It was just, we saw folks were so tapped, they couldn't grow because they were selling to all the schools and churches and organizations in their immediate geographic area. It'd probably be hard to compel a consumer to drive 3 hours to, try on garments or interact with me, right? So, again, online stores being part of our DNA from the get-go was, if you're a relationship person and you're a salesperson, why not service a swim club in North California, maybe when you're located in Arizona? So we just saw, online stores would be the way to break down that sort of geographical, boundary, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's been big for us. Like we got InkSoft right before COVID too. Like I didn't get it after, I got it before, because I was just trying to figure out, because we have certain customers that we want to, help and go through. I'm not trying to do like tons of schools and all that other stuff. I was just trying to help certain big clients that we had sell stuff online that they didn't know what to do. And, they were getting killed with a lot of these shops trying to do DTG for everything. And
sure.
So I was just trying to find a solution for them. But the big thing that drew me in was just like how fast it was that I could easily set up a store. Because my story is that I've always had the mentality of like, I don't want to pay a monthly fee for a company to do this thing. Like I could probably, I know people that can code and stuff. I was like, I'll have them make me up a thing where I can have an online store. I did like 3 versions of that. Every single one of them was like a huge pain in the ass to like go on WordPress, add a page, do this thing. Like, here's this one process you have to do to like add an item. And it's like 8 check things long. And it's just like, it's doable, but it took me like a day or 2 to like get it all in and done. And I was like, this kind of sucks, but it's paid for. I don't have a monthly fee. So anyway, I got fed up with it because I had so many customers just being like, I want to set up a store. And then they would get pissed at me because it would take forever for me to do it. Because I had literally had to slate a day to be like, busy summer day to be like, hey, I have to set up a store. Let me clear the schedule, basically. And then I got involved. I asked a bunch of people, like I always do, who are they using? What are they doing? And then InkSoft was brought up a bunch of times, and I ended up talking to you guys and tried it out. And yeah, it's just like I can, the biggest thing is you can set up a store in literally minutes. So
and like what you mentioned, if you have 3 stores going or 10 or 30 or whatever, you have this dashboard, that is right there that consolidates everything for you. If you were to go build a WordPress or whatever, or Shopify and have separate stores, well, how can you get them all together? That you can track. Well, that's even
there was no tracking. That was the problem.
Yeah,
it was a fucking nightmare.
Speaking of nightmares and tracking, I've met so many successful, decorators who try to build their own technology, and the technical debt, the overhead, all of a sudden and I hear it so often, we don't want to be a software company. We want to, our core competency is, design and decoration. And so we've seen this, an interesting tilt, when we first started the business. There was the rejection, like, I want to own the software. I want to operate it, and then you walk through somebody through the journey of you really want to own and operate web servers, and you want that maintenance and security. And so the good news is, fast forward 10 years, we don't hear that anymore. So many consumers are accustomed to, monthly fees for the services that they use, and they're accustomed to cloud-based software. But I can tell you that was a major challenge when we first started. Yeah. But yeah, we see a big impetus from, hey, we built this sort of home-baked software solution that the guy that built it is no longer around. We can't track him down, so we can't institute changes, and we have all these workarounds. And we've seen some real ugly horror stories as it relates to sort of dated tech.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of that like screen printer mentality, because it's always like that dude who started in a garage and built everything himself and stuff. And you think about it when you're in that mode, like if you're a small shop, you're like, I can figure a way to I can find a way to figure this out myself.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't need you. And then you get to a point where you're just like, you do own a business and you do have employees that count on you and you do have all these things. And you get to a point where you just have to let go and be like, this company obviously knows what they're doing. Like, they have this platform, like, let's look into it. And that was my thing. It's just like, it took me so long to just like let go and be like, I need help and I'm disorganized in this area and I want to grow this side of the company, but I don't have time to mess around with it. And then, like I said, I ended up getting a store, got it set up like that day. And then the whole onboarding thing like totally helped me with everything. And now like we use it every single day. And it's actually like a really big growing part of the business. And that's why like in the last 2 podcasts, me and Andy have talked about, do I try to get into DTG or not? Just because I could see that side of the business growing into its own department instead of just being another, print opportunity. But
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's been huge. I mean, I love what you guys are doing. So,
well, thank you, guys. I didn't expect this to be. Jeez,
we're just
blushing over here. Can you tell through video?
I was
My
the same
makeup
way.
standing up.
I was the same way with the DIY stuff. I used to try, and like I built my first exposure unit and
Right.
so on, and then I realized, I think I was our toilet broke, and me and a guy, I was like, forget it, I'm done. No, but our toilet broke. It would have something simple on it, like how it was flushing or whatever. And we went and got, okay, we're going to change out this. And we started doing it. And then we were cranking on like some bolt or whatever. And then it cracked the whole porcelain part. And we had to get a whole new toilet. And it was just like, why didn't I just call? We do shirts for plumbers. I'm just going to call a plumber next time anything like this happened, or electrician or whatever, and have them come do it. Somebody that we already do t-shirts for, something like that, and pay the service call and the $300 or whatever, and then just not mess with it. Instead, just focus on printing t-shirts or building an online store or, whatever it is, cutting grass. So here, this is an important question. Do you cut your own?
I know that reference.
JP, do you cut your own grass?
I live in the desert of Arizona. So in Scottsdale, you're encouraged to not have a grass. So I actually have artificial turf. So it always looks great.
Okay.
And
I'm down with that.
You got the water to tend to it. Yeah.
So, okay. And because Dylan, he's...
Me and Andy have been debating. And even before we got on this, we always talk for like a good half hour just to like catch up with each other and talk about stuff. And he's just giving me so much shit for mowing my own lawn. And he doesn't mow his own lawn. He hires somebody to mow his lawn. I was like...
My dad had perspective on this. If you get a good workout and you get like 45 minutes or an hour to yourself and it's a meditative exercise.
Thank you.
It's probably therapy, not actual labor. So
you're right.
I'm with
so
you.
For that, that's good. But you can get therapy while walking, like I did this morning.
True.
And by the way, I was walking. Joanna and I went on a walk, and here we're coming through this. We turn around this corner, and then I hear some cracking above. We were underneath these trees, and here, I was like, either it was a bald eagle, a bear, or a branch. And so we bolted, and then this giant branch fell right like 5 feet from us. Would have killed us.
Jeez.
I wouldn't have been on this podcast. But so I'd been better off probably cutting the grass.
Yeah, see?
Well, moral of the story.
But that's what I said mowing the grass for me isn't like I love like physically like cutting grass. It's like I have 2 hours to myself. Nobody's bugging me. I'm just like zenning out. You're not really paying attention. You're literally just going in circles. So it's just kind of like, it's my time to like think about shit and be by myself. So Andy was just giving me shit about mowing my own lawn because he's too good he lives up here.
Actually, you were giving me shit for not mowing my own lawn. Is how it went down. And then I just tried to defend myself. I felt like attacked.
But in the points like that, the sort of the business lesson here, there's one here, right? The calculus is like, do I take pleasure in this? Does it bring me joy? Is it fulfilling? Or is this costing me, like I could hire somebody to do this task and apply my time more effectively. And there's way more upside there. So I have that internal battle all the time.
That's definitely a thing, like a legit business thing. Like as an owner, like if I have young business people asking me questions about things, that's like one of the things I always say is like I said before, like you always try to do everything the hard way because you're thinking like, oh, I can save some money. I'll do this. It's like home projects or anything like that. It's like, yeah, I can renovate this house or do this stuff. And it takes you fucking like years. Like I personally renovated my whole upstairs of my house by myself, and it took me forever. I did it on nights and weekends. And then at one point, my wife's like, let's just hire somebody to like redo the bathroom downstairs. They did it in a weekend.
Sure.
Like whole thing gutted, completely done.
That's because that's what they do all the time.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is you need to delegate and trust that other people can handle things, and that you are better. Your time is better spent doing exactly what you're good at and what you need to focus on. And that's the same with like the business at all. Like, should you hire somebody? And I get this all the time, especially with this podcast. People always ask me is like, because we've talked about how, when do you hire somebody to help you handle like your own inbox or emails and stuff like that? And so many people are like, oh, I've been struggling with that. Like I'm up till 2 a.m. answering emails. And it's like, I don't remember how many years ago it was now. Say it was like 4 years ago or whatever. I made a decision to be like, I need to hire somebody to help me with just my own personal emails in the inbox. And like, that was one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah, totally.
Because now I can take time to do marketing or grow the business or find new processes and all this other stuff. Before I would have just literally been like, end of day emails, eat dinner, do what you got to do, back to emails. And it's just like,
it's hard to let go of that stuff though, because you think that, this is something I've got to do. It's got to be done a certain way, or it's not going to get done right. But that kind of thinking, you'll never grow. And if that's if you don't want to grow, well, then that's okay. That's fine. You don't necessarily have to grow. But
and I think the bigger concern too is, it's a false sense of productivity. If I can check a bunch of tasks off, like, oh, how fulfilling is it to know that you did a bunch of things in the day? But when you take stock of what tasks created long-term value, and generally the answer for a lot of people is like, nothing here, right? So, it's like that constant battle of being sort of an operator or being, strategic, right? And it just, in my journey and talking to thousands of print shops and decorators, most entrepreneurs are not spending enough time staring at a blank wall. And that's a lesson I heard from a mentor a long time ago. Think about it. Optimizing 30% of your time should just be contemplating what's next. How do I drive the business? Where are the revenue opportunities? Where do I cut costs? I mean, that's the stuff that really matters, Yeah. So I have this like conscientious I observe my day and try to set it up in advance. And, like this would be really fun to go and do a podcast or, but what really is going to matter like 12 months from now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a daily practice.
Kind of why like Apple and Google have like people like can play ping pong and shit because they like figure stuff out together because they have social time to spend with each other. Yeah.
Big component.
So I know what your answer is probably going to be is from the start because it's your company. But like, when do you think is like an actual good time for somebody to implement shop management software into their shop?
God, I would say on the precipice of starting their business, because it's easy to form bad habits. It's hard to break those habits. And I can tell you one of the biggest challenges we see is this. I remember hearing this in college, right? This was like a business textbook 101 thing. Change management is the hardest thing any business leader will have to contend with, right? I mean, think about the prospect of like, I have to go retrain my staff, or we have to change systems and processes everybody's fully aware of. That's going to wreak havoc, right? There's effort, there's labor, there's risk. It's probably going to have some upside long-term. So in my mind, it's, and we're seeing this now, I think most new decorators entering the space, they're, I don't want to be ageist here, but they tend to be younger. They grew up using technology. They know the value of good technology. And really they're sort of more focused on answering the question, not how am I going to produce and manufacture, but how am I going to run my business? What am I going to use for sales and marketing? Where are the revenue opportunities? So I think obviously it's easy to say, go and invest in all the right stuff out of the gate, right? If you're bootstrapped and, scrawny, it's hard to do that. But, certainly you can implement certain systems and processes that are thinking through these things. But I think it's a constant evaluation, a constant, process, right? If you were a Six Sigma black belt, you're constantly trying to tweak processes and systems to get more value. And that might be the observation that, hey guys, it's time to reinvent our production flow and systems. And we have a lot of inefficiencies that are creating waste, and there's a lot of ways to fix and address that.
What are some of the inefficiencies that you see shops have that they don't even think about that you can easily kind of clear up with management software?
I mean, I think it's, it all relates to misprints, but, communication gaps or communication mistakes that lead into, misprinting. And of course, the consequences, as you guys know, is upset customers, missed deadlines, handing back profit. So I think it all comes back to data. So I would relate everything back to data and data organization and management. Positioning the right information at the right time to the right person, right? That's running that functional part of the business. So communication and collaboration with both customer and team members, along with data organization and data placement, is going to help eliminate a vast majority of the inefficiencies. But I think that the greatest challenge isn't in the manufacturing production side. I think it's in the sales and marketing side. And I think if I could change any one thing about our industry, if I could poke and prod an entrepreneur, and I'm saying typically these are my observations in general, is folks just aren't investing time and effort and energy into sales and marketing. I had dinner with an executive who shall remain nameless of a very large blank wholesaler in our industry. And he mentioned, he's like, JP, the hand of the lazy decorator will be punished soon. And it was almost like he could see COVID coming. But his point was, so many folks are waiting for the phone to ring. Their business is super passive, repeat orders and word of mouth marketing. And I think the greatest source of inefficiencies, which has now been fully exposed, right? It's on full display, is folks just aren't putting stock and equity into building a sales organization and operation, like having actual salespeople. And their job is to go hunt for new business, right? Profitable business. Right. You're turning profits back into reinvesting back in the business with, marketing. And Dylan, this, you're selling across the globe, through digital advertising and marketing and all these things, the confluence with e-commerce. You can sell to anybody. You can reach the right audience through some of these tools. Yeah. So I think the production stuff can resolve itself with the right coaching, the right effort, the willingness to see that there's a problem, want to change. Software can support that. But I think if I were to have a specific cause, it would be, invest some effort into improving your sales and marketing operation. And one of the best business lessons I learned a long time ago was revenue solves all problems. You can fix production, you can hire up, you can buy equipment, you can expand, so long as you're focused on revenue production.
I think I think one of the challenges to that sales marketing thing for us, and maybe for a lot of shops, is that just the balance. Because as we scaled, our production was maxed. We were overtime, and by overtime I mean like early, coming in early, staying late, printing over lunch, coming in weekends. And so the last thing you think to yourself is, I'm like, we need to market, or I need to hire 5 salespeople or 1 salesperson for that matter, because I can't even keep up with whatever is happening now. And so then you, maybe you expand and you add a press and you have some holes to fill, but all of a sudden they get filled just because of, their natural growth is just this snowball effect. And a lot of shops, I think, go through that. That's kind of how we did. We've never had an external sales person or team or anything like that. We just do our marketing kind of the way we do, which isn't even, it's kind of done half-assed, honestly. But I always want to do it better. But I think we were kind of in that mix of maybe we were unprepared. We don't have a person that actually is going out and asking for those orders, and so definitely are changing that up. Finally, we were waiting for this school bounce, this boost, and it's kind of happened here. And so things are good, but the back to school stuff, and things are good, but I don't want to rely just on that. So you're exactly right. But you've got to be able to have that production to say, I want to spend money or hire a salesperson or just spend money on marketing. You got to be able to keep up.
And I think a good place to prioritize or start, it's far easier to grow revenue by monetizing customers as opposed to acquisition. So I don't want anybody to be misled here. My proposition isn't go hire, a sales manager and build a sales organization overnight to go hunt for new business. That's a component. But think about, I just did an interview on the Sell More Merch podcast, the InkSoft podcast channel with Ted Church of Anthem Branding. And this guy is just, doing it right in my mind. And there's different models. Not every model fits everybody's personality but his sales process is just really spending time with the customer and going through a deep discovery to really figure out, the right message, the right design, the right products, and parceling that together. So, I've seen, again, a lot of our customers just be happy to take the t-shirt order and not go deep to understand, well, what is your budget? What are you really trying to achieve with this campaign? And maybe there's other products that would add value. And I mean, if you just started, your sales and marketing efforts to just help monetize existing customers and their opportunity, just a deeper discovery process. I'm always advocating for a question-based sales process, which is something I have a lot of experience with. It's just asking the right questions. It's not being a corny, salesperson, right? But I just, I've seen it for 10 years. I ask folks all the time, tell me about your sales and marketing process. And the first thing, and I'll ask you guys, what do you think the response is when you ask a typical print shop, tell me about your sales and marketing practices? What do you think the response is?
We don't have any.
Well, there's one thing. There's one thing. What is it?
What do you got, Dylan?
I don't know.
Word of mouth marketing. That's the way they're driving their business. And, obviously you should leverage the hell out of word of mouth marketing. But again, COVID just exposed every weakness, right, in every business. And nobody was left unimpacted, right? So with that said, I think, we're just seeing this new enthusiasm, right? Of like, I have no choice but to repair my business and recalibrate altogether. Yeah. And I've heard you guys mention it on previous podcasts, like there's probably gonna be a lot of entrepreneurs that come up much better as a result of all of this, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it definitely made a lot of people stronger. The ones that could be anyway. Totally. I mean, like I said, I feel bad. It sucks for the people that got hit the hardest and they are closing doors and firing people and all this other stuff. But, it did also, there were a lot of good companies that were affected that are hurting, but there's also a lot of really bad, shitty companies that were just trying to undercut everybody, trying to just, do everything as fast and cheap and shitty as possible. And I'm kind of glad a lot of those are going away, honestly. And I feel like the ones that had backbone are like sticking around.
Totally. Thinning of the herd, I suppose. Like nobody wants to celebrate for somebody's misfortune, but the reality is a lot of these entrepreneurs don't really add value to our industry with undercutting and screwing stuff up. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be an equipment distributor right about now, though. It's going to be interesting. So if you could track the economics of like used equipment at auction or on the secondary market, for you guys, if you're in growth mode and things are good.
There's a lot of used equipment out there right now.
A lot of used equipment right now. So it's going to be an interesting long-term implications. So
yeah.
And you guys both took new equipment, right?
We both just got brand new equipment in.
Yeah. And that was already like you committed to that well ahead of COVID, right? That was planned. And
I think Andy went a little harder than I did because you didn't have the chance to make a decision of should you do this or not. You were already doing it. Like you already renovated that space.
Yeah.
You were already getting stuff in. But I had the actual opportunity of, I had already placed the order, but I had the opportunity of like canceling, of being like, should I do this or not? But I knew that I felt really strongly that I had a good, it was a good risk to take because we were growing. We have a strong customer base. I knew that if we got this equipment, we would be good to go. And I'm really, like I said, I don't want to say I'm lucky that Corona happened, but like I'm lucky that Corona happened when it happened because we got the equipment, got it here, got it installed, learned everything we needed to do to learn on it. And then by the time we got it in here and ready to go is when we started to like take off again like crazy. So like we had the perfect timing as far as like getting it in here, because if we would have just like a normal year, getting that in here and getting it installed and getting all that stuff done would have been a nightmare with like delayed orders.
During your busy season or whatever.
Yeah, because it would have been right in the middle of like when stuff's taken off. And luckily it was like right when everybody's freaking out of like, should we be open or not? So, I mean, it was weird getting stuff installed, the techs here in a mask and we're bumping elbows instead of like high-fiving. But, I mean, it's good. It's a good time. I'm glad things worked out the way they did. And
you can feel good about supporting our industry at large and American manufacturing companies. That was a good, positive thing.
Yeah, no, we're pretty happy of it. But so what are some like specific like roadblocks InkSoft has come across that you guys have kind of overcame and are growing, getting away from?
Let's see. Well, we're contending with recovering from an office flood. So,
oh really?
That's my current challenge. So yeah, COVID struck, and we were very early to close the office down, like well ahead of most organizations. We just didn't want to put our team at risk, right? And being a software company, we don't do manufacturing, so it was a pretty easy. A lot of our team already had the flexibility to work from home. So, so I still was coming to the office every day just because I have 4 kids at home, and it's a bit challenging to focus at home with 4 kids who are on lockdown and quarantine. So I left on a Friday, and I got a call Monday morning. Hey, there's water streaming out of your office. And so a coupling to a toilet had ruptured, so probably a 30-cent piece, and caused a tremendous amount of damage. And so, so we're now just recovering. We're just about furniture is being moved back in. So that's been a bit of a barrier, but it doesn't matter because employees aren't coming back anytime soon. So
yeah, I was just going to ask. So what's the plan? So they're still working from home?
Yeah, so we're going to continue until everything's clear, right? Until, I hate to say tracking what CDC says, but until we're fully confident, we're just the thought of trying to bring people back now, just when there's no real need. Everybody's being super productive from home. We trust everybody emphatically. So there's really no impetus to get everybody back, until the coast is totally clear. So again, it kind of comes back to luck. I know you folks rely on a team. You're physically manufacturing stuff. You don't have a choice, right? So that's a small setback. But I think over our course of growing the business, it's all the typical stuff of a growing organization. We've been fortunate to have year-over-year growth, and that's on every measure. So it's our customers' results, go up every year. Our revenue production, our headcount. So we, continue to grow the team and hire. So I think, I've always been mindful. We have 65 employees now. I know you guys spend a lot of time talking about hiring and bringing on new people and practices around that. I think one of the challenges is, as you grow, and especially with rapid year-over-year growth, it's like, how do you still maintain a semi-balance of your original DNA and who you are, as the business grows over time? I heard there was some factor for every 3, 6, or 9, and you could look at that from any perspective, changes or employees, systems have to be reinvented. So I think, we've experienced some of the typical challenges with a growing business. But, I think having smart people and surrounding myself by smarter people than we've been able to roll through any serious challenges. So we've been lucky, nothing crazy or,
You're still headquartered in a college town?
We are. So we're in Tempe, Arizona, which is it's been interesting to see Tempe change. It's sort of been branded as the tech corridor. And of course, Arizona, we have plentiful land. It's sort of, compared to some places in the nation, cheap to build. And so at one point, the Phoenix metro area was growing by 100,000 people a month.
That's great.
It was like a square mile a day in residential. But what was driving that, think about a lot of these tech firms, do we open up a new campus in Southern California? No. So we've had a lot of major tech companies move into the valley. And we also don't contend with natural disasters. So what better place to build data centers than the desert, right? Cheap land.
That aren't going to burn down.
No tornadoes happening.
Just floods.
Yeah. We have haboobs. Have you guys seen a haboob?
What's that?
So in monsoon season, which we're approaching now, so in August, we get these crazy torrential downpours, right? And there's no place for rain to go. It's like hard earth, right? It's desert. So we get these instant flash floods, and inevitably people end up dying in a flash flood scenario. But a haboob is and it happens in the Middle East as well, but it's like a crazy sandstorm, and it effectively moves in and covers the entire Phoenix Valley. We have 7 million people in this city now, and it's really hazardous, zero visibility. So if you're on the freeway, you have to pull over and hope to God nobody runs you over.
Yeah, Arizona's my new favorite place. We went to ThreadX a few months back, and we were in Scottsdale, and then we drove up to Sedona.
Yeah,
and we just fell in love.
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
It's pretty amazing. And you're right. Phoenix looked like it was growing. They were building. There was everywhere we looked. The building was going up.
I think it was an Airbnb driver said, "Hey, you can tell the health of a city by how many of those cranes that are facilitating construction." So we certainly have a lot of those. So, and I really think with COVID, it's created this new demand. Hey, I can maintain my salary and I'm permanently can work remote. Why am I going to live in a 1-bedroom studio in Manhattan? Nothing against New York or New Yorkers. So we've seen a tremendous amount of demand. People are moving to the Phoenix area, Dallas, Houston, kind of the Sun Belt. But yeah, we're lucky. I mean, Arizona State University is right up the street from us. We're actually on University Avenue. So it's like fertile recruiting grounds.
That's why I asked that. I bet because you said 65 employees, maybe you have some interns or something, and then they join you, and that'd be great.
And we have one employee in particular. He's like 8'5". I mean, he's a giant, but he's been this like social maven. He has such a huge friend network from ASU. So we've hired a lot of his friends, which is,
how does that work? Does he just have a massive desk?
Yeah. It's funny. He actually he took a standard desk and elevated it. There's these little blocks you can buy and rest your desk on these blocks. But he's a massive human.
We went to both. You can sit or stand desk in the design room. So they have, there's like stools in there, or you can just stand at your desk. I don't know.
We installed those too. I think it started as a popular notion, the standing desk, and people were using it for a while, but it seemed like they went back to bad habits of slouching, the slouch desk.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about InkSoft's kind of the first company that I've kind of had to deal with this with, but you guys have like a really good, intense like onboarding process. Like if you start to use, because there's a lot of things you can do, or you get software or whatever you want to use, and then they're just like, figure it out.
Yep.
You guys have a pretty crazy, like, hey, let's walk you through this entire thing. So I guess tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a matter of experience, right? So you first start the business and it's like, hey, let's offer live chat support because it's going to be productive. And then you realize what people actually want. They want to engage with a human and on their cadence, right? So everybody has preferences, right? They want to have a face-to-face web meeting like we're doing now. They want to rely on email or chat or phone. So we just made the decision to really provide service, that would satisfy all of our clients. And I would say we've overinvested in support, and it's ended up being a revenue generator, right? And from our perspective, our economic engine is really simple. We need folks that are getting value from our platform that are going to pay us every month, right? Yeah. And in order to achieve that, they have to be happy, they have to be getting value, so we look at support as not a cost or a burden. It's really as a way to ensure our clients are getting value, which means we're more likely to keep getting paid. Is the real simple economics. But yeah, so we looked at the data and we realized, hey, if we invest time up front and help people get set up, well, there's no excuse to not use the platform, right? So if we remove the first barrier, which is knowledge, you could relate this to an automatic press, right? I have to invest in it, first order of business. I have to take delivery. I have to get it set up. I have to learn it, and then we can then leverage it. So it's the same with software, right? You have to learn how to use the damn tool. And then the next step would be like go-to-market plan. So we learned in our journey was, okay, great. We got somebody set up. They know how to use the platform. And really it was like, go into the world and go conquer and destroy. But then we realized, a lot of folks needed additional help with sales and marketing. So our newest sort of addition to our service offering is, we've been turning out these turnkey marketing kits, right? Where we're giving like, here's the playbook, here's the marketing strategy. Hey, by the way, we had our marketing team. We have some really talented, folks that can write amazing marketing copy. Here's the marketing copy. It's written out for you. Oh, and by the way, here's marketing content that you can give to your client so they don't have to think too hard about making an attractive Facebook post to communicate the value of a spiritware store. And so we've been adding graphics into the mix. So really, our question is like, how can we help our clients be more successful and more effective, right? Can we help them with marketing? Can we help them learn the platform?
Is that something you guys are doing now?
Yeah, we just released a back-to-school spiritware kit. And this really is the sort of like the playbook now moving forward for these marketing kits. So we started off by writing marketing content, recognizing most of our clients aren't effective copywriters. And I think I'm probably a B- at writing marketing copy. But there's people that are just like amazing, right? They're gift with words. I mean, so we just decided, hey, we have these resources. Why don't we turn them loose and help our clients out? And the feedback we got was overwhelming. Like, hey, I just did this and we ended up getting some new accounts so we are definitely going to keep investing in these marketing kits and think, if you have a standard playbook, but it's customized for every different season or opportunity, fall sports, back to school, selling somebody on these like stay-at-home employee kits, there's no excuse. Like, here is the turnkey kit. All you got to do is just deploy it. So I think we now have about 6 in our that we're offering for free on the InkSoft blog. So I'd encourage all your listeners to go check it out. Just go to inksoft.com and click resources, and you can see them listed there.
But you have other ones that are available for people who actually have subscriptions?
No, we just make them available. We just decided, hey, this is too important to not give to folks at large. So we see it as a way to like create some goodwill and service folks. And hey, if I can help you, and there was that goodwill, you might take a serious look at how InkSoft could add extra value to your business. So it's been a very exciting thing. We're going to keep cranking them out.
Just so everybody knows, I guess, I mean, everybody kind of hears InkSoft and thinks the online stores and, the management stuff. What all do you guys offer? Like what's all part of your subscription fee?
Yeah. So I think the best way to understand it, again, when we started the business, we looked at like the life cycle of a decorated order, and we use that terminology a lot internally, right? And you guys know this, there's a lot of moving parts to get printed goods out the door and make sure the clients are totally satisfied, right? So the vision was, how do we provide technology that will help selling decorated goods, but then managing all the parts and pieces that happen as part of that life cycle, right, until delivery. So the way we look at our platform is it's an e-commerce platform fundamentally, but there's 3 sales tools that you can deploy in different use cases. So we all know the value of online stores now, right? Everybody kind of gets that. I think there was a lot of resistance 10 years ago, but I mean, now, folks say like, my client's asking me for an online store.
Yeah.
So even like consumers get the value and know. And think if you're selling into schools and sports, school administrators talk like, hey, we did this really cool online fundraising program with this school. You guys should do the same in your community. So, I think from the consumer demand all the way up to the print shop, stores are like a no-brainer, right? So if you're selling to a group, what better way to sell to a group, but an online store? So that one's kind of obvious, but the 2 others, of course, are Online Designer, and that's the ability to sort of interface with a consumer. And the way we look at the Online Designer, and I think some of the different use cases, and you guys know this from the time sync that happens in artwork, right? Hey, yeah, we want X, Y, and Z for our family reunion event. Can you give us some ideas? And that creative hot seat, the time lag to get a consumer ideas back that will get them excited and committed to purchase. So, the Online Designer is a way, and our clients use it as a way to say, hey, why don't you visit our website where you can design a starting point and save that, and our team will retrieve it, and we'll come back to you with some alternatives and some ideas to make sure we get a winning concept. So in my mind, you look at like a queue, right? And I, as a consumer, if I know that my needs are in process, they're being handled, there's a level of sort of like I can commit, I can be comfortable knowing that this business is attending. So just like custom ink with an Online Designer, whether it be quoting, whether that be product selection or design, the Online Design Studio has a few different sales use cases. But the third sales tool that's our newest, and this is the one that I'm most excited about, and we think this is going to be a pretty significant game changer, especially in light of COVID. So it's called Proposals, InkSoft Proposals. And you guys know this. I mean, to crank out an invoice to get paid or for a repeat order, an invoice in our industry just doesn't make a lot of sense when we're selling like a tactile, visual, custom product, right? So if I go to an accountant and they send me an invoice, well, yeah, I'm going to pay for 3 hours of accountancy. So, the notion of proposals is a visual sales presentation, a pitch deck, if you will. It's a way to organize branding assets and logos and cool graphics and really educate a consumer. Hey, these are the products that we're recommending for your event. And that's a much different proposition than, hey, check out this attachment of this invoice with the pricing. It's just 2 different experiences.
Do you have a video or anything like that about showing, demoing that proposal aspect of it?
Yeah, on our website, we have tons of resources where you can see, the difference that the proposals bring. And really the proposition is this, the 2 of you, I imagine, on quality, turn time, speed, probably compete head to head. If I came to you with a graphic and the same garment, I'm probably would get a very similar result. You guys are leaders in our space.
We'd be a little better, I think.
No, dang.
It's like
shots fired.
We'll see.
But here's the proposition. Imagine this. We see the world in a way where ultra competitive, assuming that each print shop A and B, same turn times, same pricing, same customer service, same experience, everything is all the same. What's the difference? And it's probably going to be sales presentation, right? So print shop A, sends me an invoice, and Print Shop B sends me a really cool interactive, like gorgeous visual presentation, I'm probably going to add favor to that presentation, right?
Even if it's more money, actually.
And I think that's higher. You got it. In fact, it should be higher. There was so much discussion in 2019 about let's change the industry. There's a lot of thought leadership with like Shirt Lab and a lot of the folks that are outspoken, right? Like, why the hell are we, reducing the value that we offer, right? And I've heard so many examples from our customers about not being the least expensive, but being the best. You ask a consumer, you have two choices here. You can get it cheap, or you can get a kick-ass printed garment and all the other swag that we're capable of producing. Like, what's important to you? It's your church, it's your organization. Most consumers have a preference to get better quality, right? Especially when it's something that's tactile, like a wearable. So you're right. If I can back up, I'm not the cheapest, but I'm the best, and check out this, sort of sales deck that will prove that or add validity to it.
All right. This is why we're better.
Exactly. And really the sort of the birth of this, wasn't because it was a great idea internally. And it started with, I got a quote for Tesla solar panels at my home, and a Tesla sales rep, she showed up at my house, she opened up a laptop, and she hit play on this beautiful, compelling sales presentation. And it started with social proof. Hey, here's an aerial view of your neighborhood, and here's all of your neighbors who are smarter than you and care more about the environment. They're using solar. And by the way, here's the economics. Here's how much money they're saving. And it really just kind of took me through a complete experience of this is what the engineering will look like and the layout on your home. And this is how the finance works, and it arrived with an e-signature. And so I lost focus in solar panels for a moment. And I sent that link. I asked her to send it to me. I sent it to my team and I said, guys, this is how decorators need to present decorated goods, like a swag, presentation. And so that was kind of the nexus for InkSoft proposals. And I'm really fired up about it because I think it's going to help, as we advocate for sales and marketing practices, our advice is, hey, once a day, go and create 3 sales presentations that are your favorite products that are trending, that are popular, and deliver it to a contact you have. And say, hey, next time you need to promote your X event virtually, we can do a really cool, welcome kit or package. So it's just creating awareness of what you do, and what better way to do it than a virtual sort of sample, right?
JP, you're 100% right, because I will from time to time, I'll just know that let's say it's a quote I really want, and so we don't create art normally. The process goes, you have to place your order, and then we'll get you your art. Well, from every now and then, I'll just really, really want this order, and I'll just go in there and say, hey, before we send this quote, let's work up this art, put it on a proof, and then send the quote with this proof, done. So that it's just when they see it, they just love it, and they don't even have to think about it, and they'll say yes.
Absolutely.
And so it's sort of like doing that, essentially, I guess is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, visual communications. And I think part of the secret sauce with proposals, forget the idea for a moment's time. It's how do you create efficiencies in that process, right? So we look at how do you take a non-skilled, let's say you hire a sales rep. Their job is to run point on sales and marketing operations, respond to social media, stuff like that. How do you take somebody that might not know Illustrator or Photoshop, and how do you empower them to create virtual mockups? Hey, take this logo that we pulled down from the internet or from our prospective clients' website, and throw it on some products that are selling well and present it to them. So we built a technology we call Rapid Product Creator that allows you to take logos and build different colorways and then assign them to products to get into a virtual presentation, right? So again, if the sales rep doesn't have to go nudge the designer on the shoulder saying, hey, can you convert this to a single color black imprint so I can mock it up? So we've been very focused on how do you really empower folks that, again, don't necessarily have the skills necessary to achieve the end result, and building technology to make that a reality.
And that's included, or is that an upgrade?
No, that's built right into not only our stores platform, but also into proposals. So I can tell you, we are fired up about proposals, and it's going to become the nexus for some of the forthcoming sales tools that we're rapidly going to accelerate, right? So you asked the question earlier, what are you guys doing differently, or will you pivot your roadmap to deliver on some of the things happening now? And the answer, is how can we get more sales tools to our clients to help them, interact with consumers in sort of the new reality of things.
See, I feel like that's something that not a lot of people knew existed. You know what I mean? Like you think of these different companies and like, what are they offering and what can they do for me? And it's like, okay, I could go here and they'll do what they say they're going to do. They're going to give me this software, but you guys have the software, but you're also offering all this other stuff that's kind of just like helping us be more streamlined.
And you guys know this. We run operations, right? So while we're not doing physical manufacturing, we're producing software. So it's very, it's very similar to what you folks do, right? We have a system to go through in a process, and designs have to be approved, then it goes to dev and QA, and so we rely on technology to run our operation and our business too. So part of the perspective we're always asking is like, it really sucks when you have to use multiple software tools and try to string them together. Yeah. It creates unnecessary workarounds and complexity and the opportunity for failure. So one of the other things we've been very focused is, can we be a single platform, a single source of truth to run an entire business? And our roadmap is very much focused on two things: realizing that, that to the fullest potential, and then delivering on sales tools. At the end of the day, what good is shop management software if there's nothing to manage, if you don't have inbound sales and a steady flow of sales, right? So we're just trying to connect those two together. Yeah.
And it just makes the shops want to keep using you if you keep offering stuff to help them out.
You got it.
Yeah.
So we have a big announcement. Dylan, you've got a sexy voice. You wanna do it?
Lay it out.
Yeah.
What do you want from me? That I mow my lawn?
And we got a sponsor.
Yeah. We got InkSoft on board. They think we're doing something right, I guess.
We do. It's interesting. We've seen this new form of communication. It's actually not new. Podcasting isn't new, right? But I just think what you guys are doing is awesome, and we wanted to be part of it. So yeah, InkSoft is now sponsoring the Shirt Show, and we think this is a way to help guide entrepreneurs, give them insights, and keep them motivated. So we absolutely love what you guys are doing. You don't have to do this. Here we are on a Sunday, you're taking your free time and helping to share information with the community. So I can't thank you enough for what you're doing for the industry. And you would think that like a trade organization would be running point on this, but here it is, you guys are doing it. So I think it's super cool, and we're like really happy to be part of it. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but like realistically, like you said, like even with this podcast talking to you, it's like we like InkSoft. We were using it before any of this podcasting even started. The whole idea with this podcast too is to just kind of like help us, like, therapy for me and Andy to figure shit out and learn and grow and talk to all these other people. But in turn, it kind of like helps a lot of other shops like realize they're not alone with things, and, teaches them things and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like, we want to shed light on companies that we use and love, and it helps our company grow. And InkSoft was one of them. So we were stoked to, be a partner. So.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. We're excited to be a sponsor and love what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So to end this off, what do you look at social media wise or anything like that, JP, to find inspiration and stuff like that for yourself? Doesn't have to be print related. Could be hippies in Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. I don't personally use social media. So I divorced myself of like Facebook before it was cool.
That one I'm okay with.
Yeah. So, obviously I run point on a lot of the social interaction for the business, and that's enough for me. Yeah. But inspiration, I absorb a ton of podcasts. One of my favorite is Sam Harris's Making Sense. So he's a neuroscientist, and it's a deep dive into philosophy and science. His guests are some of the brightest people in the world, and it's just a very interesting viewpoint politically on religion, and very, very intellectually stimulating. So yeah, I try to go outside of the industry just to get mental stimulus, because I spend enough time obsessing about InkSoft.
I feel like those are the ones I want to hear from people more. Like I always ask, like, what are you listening to? What are you doing? People always tell me like other shops and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But like, give me some stuff that's, like you said, like stuff that's not, that you can learn. There's other things out there that help you like you were saying, you were trying to buy solar panels for your house, and that gave you like this huge idea for this whole new platform you guys are going to offer. Like, I want to learn about other shit that makes me want to like,
Totally.
Go harder on my own.
When do you find time to listen to podcasts? On your commute, or when is it?
Yeah, so I live in Scottsdale and our office is in Tempe, so it's about 25 minutes each way. So, and then when I exercise, so I've been doing a lot of spin cycling on the Peloton. So you crank and put in the headphones and listen. I also do a lot of audiobooks. There's times where you can't read, like when you're exercising, but you can absorb information.
Or you don't.
Exactly. One of my favorite hacks is to like speed up the audio. So 1.5 times speed.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. You can absorb.
Yeah, you didn't know you could do that.
I
They
had
sound
no idea.
like chipmunks, kind of though, but it goes fast. It is kind of weird.
Amazing.
Hey, on your Peloton,
you get used to it, and all of a sudden you can absorb more information quicker. So it's definitely an important hack.
Joanne was listening to like this long podcast for 2 hours, and then she's like, "Oh, you got to hear this part," and she played it for me, and I'm go, "What? Why do you have it in
what is going on here?
1.5 times?" She goes, "What?" I go, "You have it in it's fast forward," and she goes, "Oh, I thought their voices were just high." She had no idea. But
how do you do that?
Oh, it's down at the bottom of I think you can go 1.5 or even 2 times, right?
2, yeah. It depends on the speaker. Somebody.
You shouldn't have said that. Now everybody's going to listen to this wicked fast.
And I realized, because I record a podcast too, and I realized I sound better at 1.5%. I'm not as like labored or delayed, but it's an interesting hack, and it works pretty damn well.
That's crazy.
I've always loved to read, and I got exhausted reading like business books. So now I strictly read for pleasure, and I've been doing a lot of just history, reading about history. There's so many fascinating things that have actually happened, so I don't read like mystery or things like that. So I actually prioritize like time to absorb information, right? So usually at the end of an evening is when
that's a good idea.
A real book, or is that audio also?
No, I have a Kindle, and I love this Kindle. It's the Paperwhite, and so it's lit from like the sides, so it doesn't like put any sort of like so I can read in bed at night, not disturb my wife. And of course, when you have to read the same paragraph like 5 times, that's when it's time to like zonk out. So it's definitely a good way to like calm your mind and transition into sleep. So
yeah. Well, hey man, thanks for taking time on a Sunday to hang out with us.
Totally. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. And again, thanks for the good work here. The industry absolutely needs some thought leadership and some advice and direction. And
we're not saying we're that smart and that we deserve this, but we're just doing it anyway.
Soak it in, brother. Take it.
Dylan, what's for dinner tonight?
Dude, I don't even know. I got work to do. I'm going to be here till late probably.
Well, then you got to.
Corley, in your household, who's responsible for dinner? Is it a shared effort, or is it
It's whoever feels like it.
Nice.
How about you, JP?
My wife loves to cook, and so do I. But given she likes to cook a lot more than I do, she usually takes the reins. But yeah, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen, so it's a nice family exercise.
I'll probably grab a couple slices of pizza and then come back here, and then just we're organizing some shop stuff and getting some stuff done that we haven't been able to lately, just because not like actual like work stuff, but like I have to like hook up the exhaust and move some stuff around the shop. And figure now,
a new week.
Now was a good time. So
awesome. Well, you guys have a good evening, and again, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, dude. We'll see you.
Rock and roll. Thanks, guys. Take care.